Hey, Jason Seiden here. All right, so last week I talked about personal branding and context, and after that video, I went back and um, I did exactly what I said I hadn't done in the video. I looked at my stats from 2022 and realized uh, I think the world is getting back to the fundamentals. The videos of mine that actually were that intersected both most interesting to me and were most popular were ones when I shifted the context of a situation. I brought a different perspective to bear. And, for the last, I was thinking about this, for the last 6, 7 years, I've really been applying leadership and communications principles to this notion of technical adoption. And I've been helping grow tech companies by getting people to adopt software, but it's really just one application of leadership and communications. And maybe because the world is wonky, or who knows, things come in waves. I feel like, my actions show it, right? It's time to get back to the fundamentals of context, how to lead, how to communicate as a leader. And so, I want to spend more time in these videos more intentionally exploring those topics. And and for me at least, it all kind of mixes up, right? The internal dialogue, the personal brand, the way you present yourself to the world, the framing that you put out there, the way you communicate with others, whether you are a leader or not, all this kind of springs from the same fountain. And for me, I know the seeds that were sown when I was a kid. I can thank my parents for this. The words "I can't," it was like the worst thing I could say. And on the face of it, that just might seem like, oh yeah, like good. Your parents didn't want you to whine without trying to solve your own problems. But it's actually much bigger than that. The lessons happen on a few levels. Number one, I was not allowed to walk away from a situation before I identified a potential solution to it. Now, that potential solution may not be likable. It might not be good. It might not be cheap. It might not be easy. It might not be feasible in the time that I had available to me. But I had to think through at least one option. And so I started to understand that there always was a solution. I might not see it yet, but there was a solution. I learned to have faith that a solution existed. And more than that, I got to experience for myself the power that comes from having faith that there's a solution. It's not something you see every day. A lot of times we're on autopilot. But when the chips are down, when there's pressure, and the world around you is saying, oh, I can't, or I don't see it, or it's impossible, and you can sit there and look at the situation and say, just give me a minute. I think I see something. There's a lot of power that comes from that. First of all, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you believe that there's a solution, you either find it or you create it. Either way, you've just found the solution, right? But you also are able to bring a sense of calm to a situation. You naturally become a leader in certain situations. And if you're the person people turn to when things are rough, that's a really powerful particular leadership position to be in. So when I say these things all mix up, I mean they do. And oftentimes it's something very small that sits at the very foundation of the source of them. And for me, the fountain where all this springs, I can trace it back to this notion of just refusing to say I can't. So, this is something I'll explore this in the weeks to come. As I said, I've got some stories that I'll share that I think will help bring some of these concepts to light, and I can break this down a little bit. But I think it's time to get back to the fundamentals of leadership and communication. So I'm excited to do it, and for me, it just starts with a refusal to say I can't. That's all I got. Love you. See you next week.